The corridor smelled faintly of disinfectant and lilies, the kind they placed beside dying men. Amara Carter's knees ached from kneeling too long beside the bed. Her father's hand trembled as he pressed a worn brown envelope into hers. "They'll strip you bare, but what's yours can never be stolen," he whispered. Outside, thunder rolled somewhere distant, but the storm was already inside her chest. Her phone buzzed. A message from her husband, Derek Vaughn. "Don't take too long. The guests are waiting." She blinked through tears. Guests? Her father was dying, and Derek was hosting a party. By the time she reached the condo, their home, the city lights shimmered off glass towers. Inside, laughter spilled through the marble lobby. Music. Champagne. And at the top of the steps, beneath the massive glass doors, stood Derek, tuxedo perfect, his arm wrapped around another woman in a red silk gown. When Amara called his name, he didn't flinch. He only sighed, pressed a button, and watched as the heavy oak door swung shut. Locked. Just like that. Pregnant. Soaked. Alone. Neighbors stared from balconies. Someone lifted a phone to record. Her hand pressed to her belly as she whispered, "For you, little one. We'll survive this somehow." Inside, Derek's laughter echoed against the glass like a verdict. What he didn't know, what no one in that glittering tower yet knew, was that the very condo he'd just locked her out of belonged to her. The ownership papers sat sealed in the envelope, still clutched in her trembling hand, signed weeks earlier by the dying father he never respected. And tonight's door slam would one day become the sound of his downfall. Hello, family. Welcome back. Before we begin, please click subscribe. Every single click helps us tell stories of courage and truth. And in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. Because when we share these stories together, we remind each other that even in pain, we can rise. The monitor screamed first. Its sharp beeping cut through the quiet hospital room like a warning bell of the inevitable. Amara Carter, 29, 7 months pregnant, leaned forward, clutching the frail hand of her dying father. His skin was paper thin, his voice a whisper barely louder than the hum of the air conditioner. "Daddy, please stay with me," she begged, eyes swollen from days without sleep. Grief heavy, her heart shattered. She pressed her forehead to his knuckles, whispering, "Papa, I need you." Benjamin Carter, once the lion of the city, real estate magnate and self-made billionaire, struggled to breathe. His chest rose in shallow bursts. On the bedside table sat a golden pen beside a worn brown envelope sealed in red wax. He motioned weakly toward it. Nurse Talia Reed, standing by the IV, stepped forward but stopped when he shook his head. Only Amara could take it. His voice trembled. "They'll strip you bare, Amara, but what's yours can never be stolen." Those were his final words, then silence. The machine steadied, the line flat. Amara froze, staring at her father's frail body, the sound of loss and silence pressing down like a storm. She begged God for one more minute, but heaven stayed quiet. Moments later, attorney Marcus Hale, a tall man in a charcoal suit, entered. His eyes softened at the sight of her collapsed over the bed. He had served Benjamin for 20 years, lawyer, confidant, almost family. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "He wanted me to give you something." He pointed to the envelope. Amara blinked through tears. "What is it?" "His legacy," Marcus said softly. "But not yet. When the time is right." Talia sniffled. "He loved you so much." Amara nodded, though her voice was gone. She slid the worn brown envelope into her purse, unaware it held the legal deeds to the $100 million condo that would soon define her fate. The hospital felt too bright, too clean for grief. Outside, the pale gray morning sky waited. The city began to stir, buses rumbling, people living ordinary lives while hers had just shattered. She touched her belly, whispering, "It's just us now." The unborn child kicked, a faint reminder that life continued even in death. Her phone buzzed. A text from her husband, Derek Vaughn. "Don't take too long. The guests are waiting." Guests? At this hour? Confusion rippled through her sorrow. Hope sparked in her chest, then twisted into fear. She closed her eyes, breathing through the sting. The timing felt wrong, cruelly wrong. Amara lifted her head once more to look at her father's face. "Papa, you saved me, didn't you?" she whispered. Talia turned off the lights, and Marcus quietly exited, leaving her alone in the dim glow. The envelope pulsed like a secret heartbeat in her bag. She rose slowly, trembling, and walked toward the door. Outside the window, the first drizzle started against the glass, and as the storm gathered, Amara whispered, almost to herself, "When I get home, everything will make sense again." But it wouldn't, because by the time she reached the condo, someone else would be laughing behind its heavy oak door. The rain fell like it wanted to erase her footsteps. By the time Amara Carter reached the $100 million condo, her black dress clung to her skin, soaked and heavy. Her hair stuck to her face, and her swollen belly pressed against the fabric of her coat. She whispered through trembling lips, "Just hold on, baby. Mommy's home." But as the building came into view, her heart froze. The driveway glittered with expensive cars lined up neatly under golden lights. Music thumped through the glass walls. Inside, guests laughed, glasses clinked, and the scent of wine floated out every time the door swung open. It wasn't mourning, it was celebration. At the top of the marble steps stood Derek Vaughn, tall, dark-skinned, his black suit pressed to perfection. In his hand he held a glass of champagne. And beside him, her eyes shining cruelly beneath the canopy light, stood Celeste Moore, Amara's former college friend, now her husband's lover wrapped in a red silk gown. "Derek?" Amara's voice cracked, half swallowed by the storm. He turned lazily, not shocked, not sorry, just cold. "You shouldn't have left the hospital," he said. "It's late. You'll catch a cold." "I was with my father, he just died," she whispered. "You didn't even come." Celeste smirked. "He said you were unstable." Amara's stomach twisted. Betrayal. Lies. Manipulation. Her husband didn't flinch. Instead, he placed his hand on Celeste's waist and said softly, "This is our home now." The heavy oak door swung shut with a deep slam, echoing down the hall like a gunshot. "Derek!" Amara banged on the door. "Open this door! Please, just let me inside!" The wood was cold against her forehead. Inside, she heard laughter echoing through walls, cruel and deliberate. From the balconies above, neighbors stared, their phones lifted. Recording. Someone whispered, "Isn't that his wife?" Another voice. "He said she's crazy." Pity and gossip mingled in the rain. "Pick it up," Celeste's voice mocked from behind the door. "Pick up your pride like the charity case you are." Amara sank to her knees, water pooling around her. She was a pregnant beggar, a soaked, broken woman, but her spirit refused to die. She pressed a hand on her swollen belly. "For you, little one," she murmured. "Mommy will make sure you eat." Lightning flashed, revealing the massive glass doors that once led her home. Now, she was an outsider locked out of the very world she helped build. Inside, Derek's mocking laughter rose again, louder than the thunder. The crowd laughed harder, raising glasses to his cruelty. Amara stood slowly, eyes burning with something deeper than grief. The father's last words echoed, "What's yours can never be stolen." She touched the worn brown envelope inside her bag, still sealed. Not yet, she thought. Not here. Her voice was steady now. "One day, Derek," she whispered through the storm, "the door you slammed on me will be the door that ends you." She turned toward the dark street, each step heavy, each breath trembling. The storm soaked her dress, but her heart was burning. A security guard watched from the lobby, pity flashing across his face. He glanced down at her ID photo on the condo register, then froze. The owner's name glowed under the glass screen. Amara Carter Vaughn. He hesitated but said nothing. Not yet. As Amara disappeared into the rain, lightning illuminated her path like a warning from heaven. And somewhere deep inside that building, a forgotten janitor whispered to himself, "They don't even know who really owns this place." The rain had not stopped. It chased her across the city like punishment. By the time Amara Carter reached the edge of downtown, her shoes squelched with water. She stumbled beneath a flickering neon sign that read, "Hope, Women's Shelter." Inside, the air was warm but heavy with sadness. The room smelled of lukewarm tea, wet clothes, and thin blankets that never fully dried. A few women sat in silence, eyes hollow, clutching paper cups like lifelines. Amara collapsed on a wooden bench, one hand pressed to her belly. The unborn child kicked, a faint rhythm of life inside her broken body. Her phone was dead, her wallet empty, Her husband had laughed as if she were nothing, and the neighbors had whispered, "She's crazy." Now she had nowhere left to go. The shelter door creaked open. Nurse Talia Reed, still in her hospital scrubs, stepped in holding a paper bag. She froze when she saw Amara. "Amara?" Amara looked up weakly. "You shouldn't have come." Talia set down the bag. "You shouldn't be here alone. Not in your condition." She handed her a steaming cup of watery soup. "Eat this. It's not much, but it'll help." Amara sipped slowly, tears blending with the steam. "He locked me out, Talia. At my father's funeral week. He said I was unstable." Talia's lips trembled. "Your father warned us this could happen. He asked Attorney Marcus to prepare something before he—" Her voice faded. Amara blinked. "Something?" Before Talia could answer, a man's voice came from the corner. It was Louis, the janitor from the hospital, middle-aged, quiet, his uniform still damp from the rain. He had always greeted people with small nods and kind eyes. "I heard him talking," Louis said carefully. "Your husband. He told a banker on the phone that he was selling properties fast. He said the paperwork would be signed before anyone noticed." Amara froze. "Properties?" Louis nodded. "Said they were worth millions. Sounded like he didn't own them." Her heart pounded. She remembered her father's trembling hand, the worn brown envelope, and his final words. "They'll strip you bare, but what's yours can never be stolen." Hope sparked in her chest. "I need to find Marcus Hale," she whispered. "My father's lawyer. He'll know what my father meant." From across the room, a community woman whispered to another, "She's the one from the Condo video. People are talking." Her humiliation had become pity and gossip. Amara rose shakily, gripping her bag tight. "They think I'm a beggar, but I'm not done yet." Talia caught her arm. "You can't go back there." "Not yet." "I have to," Amara said. "For my baby. For my father." Louis stepped closer. "Then take this." He slipped her a granola bar and whispered, "The night guard at the condo checks ownership logs every morning. If your name's there, you'll know the truth." Amara's eyes widened. "My name?" Louis nodded. "You might be more than you think." She looked toward the fogged window, where rain streaks glistened like glass walls. Outside, the city lights flickered golden light over marble towers. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "If that condo truly belongs to me, he just locked himself out of his own life." Lightning cracked again, sharp and final. The church bells struck like hammers against her chest. The sound echoed through the cold marble hall as Amara Carter stood before her father's casket, her black veil trembling with every breath. The room was filled with strangers who pretended to mourn, whispering under their breath, spreading false rumors. Unstable. Dangerous. The crazy one. Her fingers clutched the edge of the coffin. "Daddy, please stay with me," she whispered again, even though she knew he was gone. Her father was gone. The man who built her world, who whispered final words about protection and truth, now lay silent beneath polished wood and flowers that smelled of sorrow. Behind her, the double doors creaked open. Derek Vaughn walked in like a man entering a gala, not a funeral. His expensive shoes clicked against the marble, his black suit immaculate, and his face carried not grief but calculation. In his hand he held Grace Vaughn, his mother's arm. Grace's pearls gleamed like frost under the light. "People are saying terrible things," Grace murmured loudly enough for others to hear. "You shouldn't have caused a scene at the condo, dear. My son has a reputation." Amara turned slowly, her voice cracked but steady. "A reputation built on lies." Grace's smile was ice. "You need rest. You're pregnant, emotional, and frankly unstable. We don't want our family involved in more drama." Amara blinked back tears. "He locked me out in the storm, Grace, out of my own home, while my father was dying." Derek placed a hand on his mother's shoulder, pretending calm. "You're not well, Amara. Everyone saw the video. Let's not embarrass ourselves in public." The words hit harder than any slap. Pity and gossip rippled through the pews. Someone whispered, "That's the wife who begged in the rain." Her stomach tightened. Her baby kicked again. She touched her belly gently. "You'll know the truth one day," she whispered to her child. As the service ended, mourners began to leave, but Attorney Marcus Hale appeared at the back of the church. His dark eyes caught hers steady, knowing. He gave a brief nod, the kind that said, "Not yet, but soon." Amara's breath caught. There was still something she didn't understand, something her father and Marcus had hidden. Grace leaned in once more, her perfume sharp, her tone colder. You may have been his daughter, but money doesn't save unstable women. Power does. And you don't have any. Amara smiled faintly, tears catching the light. That's where you're wrong. The golden pen in her purse glinted as she turned away from them both. Her father's words replayed again. They'll strip you bare, but what's yours can never be stolen. She walked past Derek, who pretended not to care, but his jaw tightened when Marcus Hale placed a supportive hand on her shoulder. Outside, the gray sky threatened another storm, the air heavy with unfinished grief. The city began to stir, sirens echoing somewhere distant. Amara paused on the church steps, looking toward the horizon where the towers of Carter Estates pierced the skyline. Every inch of this city remembers my father, she whispered. And soon, so will you. Lightning cracked far away, a silent warning. Music thundered through the penthouse like a heartbeat made of glass and greed. Golden lights spilled across polished marble floors, bouncing off champagne flutes and crystal chandeliers. Every corner gleamed with wealth, every smile hid mocking laughter. At the center of it all stood Derek Vaughn, in a tailored navy suit, glass raised high. He smiled, like a man untouchable, even as whispers of his wife's humiliation drifted through the crowd. To freedom, he announced, smirking. To finally being free of her? Laughter erupted, glasses clinked. By his side, Celeste Moore, wrapped again in her red silk gown, leaned close, her perfume sweet and venomous. You should have done it years ago, she whispered. Patience pays, Derek said, grinning. Soon, I'll own everything her father left behind. From the balcony, Eric Walsh, Derek's longtime business partner, watched quietly. He had always admired Derek's confidence, but tonight it felt cruel. Something about the timing, throwing a party right after Benjamin Carter's funeral, left a bitter taste. Isn't that the condo her father built? A guest murmured. Derek turned, voice smooth. Every inch of this condo was built by my blood and sweat. Eric's jaw tightened. He remembered the old man's kindness and the way Derek laughed when Amara cried in the rain. The neighbors who had recorded that night were in this room too, whispering, spreading pity and gossip disguised as applause. Celeste twirled her glass, eyes glinting. She'll fade, Derek. That's what happens when women lose their power. Derek smiled. She never had any. Outside, the city pulsed under the pale gray sky, the world unaware that the empire they were toasting wasn't his to own. Eric excused himself to the bar. His conscience gnawed at him. He had seen Amara once, at a charity gala, quiet but brilliant, her father's pride. Now she was being erased. He pulled out his phone and checked a document Derek had sent earlier, property lists under Carter Holdings. He frowned. The names didn't match. Strange, he muttered. Why isn't Derek listed as owner? Behind him, Celeste laughed loudly. He deserves it all. She's nothing but a shadow now. Eric's hand trembled slightly as he sipped his drink. Something was off. He couldn't shake the image of Amara's soaked figure in the storm, nor the rumor that she'd once been seen with attorney Marcus Hale. Could she still be fighting back? A burst of mocking laughter pulled him back. Derek stood on a table, arms wide. Tonight, he declared, we bury her memory. The unstable wife, the charity case gone forever. The crowd applauded, drunk on spectacle. But as Derek raised his glass again, Eric's phone buzzed a message with a single photo. It showed Amara Carter, sitting in a quiet office, eyes calm, a worn brown envelope on the desk before her. Eric's heart stopped. Impossible, he whispered. The photo was time-stamped tonight. He glanced up at Derek, still laughing. The man was celebrating a victory that had already begun to crumble. Eric pocketed his phone, his expression unreadable. The music thumped, the golden light swayed, and Derek's laughter filled the air. To power! Derek shouted again. But Eric's eyes flicked to the envelope photo once more, and then to the skyline beyond the massive glass doors. Somewhere out there, Amara was awake and planning. The storm outside Amara's small motel window thundered so hard that it seemed to echo her heartbeat. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the worn brown envelope resting on her lap. The sound of laughter echoing through walls from Derek's party replayed in her head, cutting through her like glass. But this time, she didn't cry. She opened the envelope. Inside lay legal deeds, property documents, and a letter in her father's familiar handwriting. The moment she saw his name, Benjamin Carter, the world blurred, pulling her backward in time. It was a year earlier. The sunlight had been golden light, spilling across his office, touching every corner of his empire. Benjamin Carter, still strong then, sat behind a long oak desk. His once steady hands held a golden pen, its tip hovering above. Crisp papers embossed with notarized seals. Across from him stood attorney Marcus Hale, his loyal friend and advisor for over 20 years. "Are you sure, Ben?" Marcus asked quietly. "If your son-in-law finds out, he'll—" Benjamin smiled sadly. "That's why he can't. The condo, the shares, the trust, all will go to Amara, not Derek. She's pure-hearted. He's not. I built an empire hidden in plain sight, and she'll inherit it when she's ready." He signed, with one deliberate stroke. The golden pen glided like destiny itself. Marcus sealed the documents into the worn brown envelope, pressing wax against it. "And if she never opens it?" Benjamin's eyes softened. "Then the world will take everything until she remembers who she is." He leaned back, coughing, pain twisting his face. "You'll protect her, Marcus. You always have." Marcus nodded, his voice breaking. "I promise." "But if he—" Benjamin interrupted, voice thin but firm. "If Derek Vaughn ever touches what's hers, make sure the law touches him harder." He handed the envelope to Marcus. "Give it to her only when I'm gone." The office fell silent except for the ticking clock. Outside, cranes moved against the skyline of Carter Estates, the legacy of a man who built dreams out of dust. The flashback ended as thunder roared back into Amara's motel room. She clutched the letter, reading the last line again and again. "They may strip you bare, but what's yours can never be stolen." Her eyes filled, not with grief but burning now with something deeper than grief. She whispered, "Papa, you saved me." The realization struck. Derek had been selling properties that didn't belong to him. Every signature he'd made, every deal he'd sealed, it was all fraud. Her father had outsmarted him from the grave. Amara rose from the bed, trembling but determined. "I'll find Marcus. I'll prove this." She folded the documents carefully, sliding them into her bag beside the golden pen her father once used. The pen felt heavier now, like justice waiting to be written. Outside, the storm eased to a drizzle, the pale gray morning sky stretching over the city. She whispered to her belly, "For you, little one. Mommy's coming back stronger." Then she turned toward the door, determination in every breath. The motel light flickered once, then went out. On the table, her phone buzzed alive with an unknown number. A message blinked on the screen. "He's closing a deal tomorrow. If you want to stop him, come to Holloway Tower, 10 a.m. Her hand froze midair. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please, take a second to do it now. Every click, every share, every comment helps us keep telling stories that give strength to women and children who've been broken, forgotten, or silenced. When you subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel, you're standing beside survivors, saying their stories matter. Turn on your notification bell so you never miss a story that could change a life. And in the comments, tell us, where are you watching from and what part of this story spoke to your heart? The revolving glass doors spun like mirrors of betrayal. Amara Carter stepped into the Holloway Tower lobby, her heart pounding so loud she could hear it over the chatter. Reporters lined the corridor, cameras flashing beneath the golden light of the chandeliers. Across the marble floor, she saw him, Derek Vaughn, surrounded by investors, his arm casually draped around Celeste Moore, the woman in the red silk gown. "Smile," Derek said to Celeste. "They love a successful couple." Amara's voice sliced through the noise. "Successful? You mean thief?" The room froze. Conversations died mid-sentence. Derek turned, disbelief flashing before a grin replaced it. "You again? I thought we agreed you'd stay out of public places." "You agreed," she said, her voice steady, "when you locked me out of my own home." Laughter echoed through walls as Celeste leaned closer, whispering loud enough for the crowd to hear. "See? I told you she's unstable." The word hit like a stone. Unstable. Dangerous. The crazy one. But Amara didn't flinch. She lifted her phone and pressed play. Derek's own voice spilled from the speaker. "I don't care if it's her father's money. It's mine now." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Neighbors staring, phones lifted, recording. Derek's smile cracked for the first time. You edited that? Amara met his eyes. No, that's your voice from your own party. Every cruel word you spoke while you laughed over my father's death. For a moment, silence ruled. The mocking laughter stopped, even Celeste's smirk faltered. But Derek recovered, his voice cold and sharp. You think anyone will believe you? You look like a beggar at my mercy. Look at you, 7 months pregnant. No money, no home. Amara's eyes glistened, but not from tears. You made me a beggar, but you forgot I still carry his name. Carter. Pity and gossip swirled around her. A woman whispered. She's so brave. Another hissed. He really did that to her. Derek grabbed Amara's wrist, voice low. You're embarrassing me. Leave now. Celeste's red nails rested on his arm, smiling for the cameras. Let's go, baby. You don't owe her an explanation. But Amara didn't move. She pulled her hand free. I owe my father justice. Security began to step forward, uncertain. Flashes burst like lightning. Then, through the crowd, Attorney Marcus Hale appeared at the edge of the hall, watching silently, a folder in his hand. Their eyes met. A small nod, the signal they were ready to begin. Derek saw it too. His face tightened. Don't test me, Amara. You have no idea what you're starting. Amara lifted her chin. I know exactly what. I'm starting. It's called the truth. For a moment, the world stopped. Camera lights flared, and the reflection of her tear-streaked face shone in the massive glass doors behind her, the same kind that had once shut her out. Hope sparked in her chest, faint but alive. Security escorted her out, but her eyes never left Marcus. He raised a finger to his lips. Silence now. Revelation later. Outside, the storm soaked her dress, but the crowd that had mocked her began to turn whispers of sympathy, not shame. As the doors closed behind her, Celeste hissed, He'll destroy you. Amara smiled through the rain. Then he better start soon. She walked away, head high, the golden pen hidden in her bag like a sword. Lightning flashed again, painting the tower in silver. Inside, Marcus opened his folder and slid a set of papers onto a table marked Carter Holdings. The ink on the legal deeds gleamed under the lights. Tomorrow at noon, the city will see who really owns everything. The elevator doors slid open with a metallic sigh. Amara Carter stepped out onto the 12th floor of a small downtown building, the office of Marcus Hale, her late father's lawyer. The smell of paper and old coffee filled the air, and rain dripped faintly from her coat. She wasn't alone. Her best friend, Lena Brooks, a sharp-eyed paralegal who had once worked for Marcus, held her arm steady. You ready for this? Lena asked softly. Amara nodded, clutching the worn brown envelope to her chest. I have to be. This is all that's left of him. Inside, Marcus Hale stood behind his mahogany desk. The window behind him looked out over the pale gray morning sky. He smiled faintly. You found me sooner than I expected. Amara placed the envelope on the desk. My father left this. I opened it. The legal deeds, the property documents, they're in my name. But I need proof that can stand against Derek. Marcus gestured to the chair opposite. You have more than proof, Amara. You have ownership. Golden light streamed in as Marcus unlocked a drawer and withdrew a velvet case. Inside lay her father's golden pen, polished and gleaming. He signed every document with this, Marcus said. It's more than a pen, it's a signature marker. Every document your husband forged will fail verification against it. Amara's breath caught. He really thought of everything. Lena leaned closer, scanning the papers. These aren't just about the $100 million condo. Look, there's Carter Estates, Holloway Tower shares, even land deeds. He built an empire hidden in plain sight. Amara pressed her hand to her chest. Hope sparked in her heart, small but powerful. He protected me, even after death. Marcus nodded. But Derek doesn't know yet. He's trying to transfer ownership to his name by using duplicate files. If he finalizes that tomorrow, he'll trap you legally. Amara frowned. Then we stop him before tomorrow. A quiet voice spoke from the doorway. Realtor Kim Porter, young but shrewd, entered holding a tablet. I work for Carter Holdings. We've been monitoring ownership data. I saw Derek's name pop up in a pending file. It was flagged because your father locked that system with biometric encryption. No one can override it without your signature. Amara's hand trembled as she reached for the golden pen. Then let's unlock it, Kim smiled. You sign and the system updates publicly in under a minute. Every investor, every journalist, every partner will know who the true owner is. Amara hesitated. Her father's voice echoed in her memory. They'll strip you bare, but what's yours can never be stolen. She clicked the pen open. Its tip gleamed beneath the office lights. Lena whispered, Do it, Amara. She signed. A soft chime sounded from Kim's tablet. The condo's title updated instantly. Owner, Amara Carter Vaughn, Lena gasped. Marcus, smiled. Kim's eyes widened. Amara exhaled shakily. It's mine again. But then Marcus's phone rang. He answered, face darkening. What? He's hosting another party tonight? To announce full ownership? Amara froze. He doesn't know yet, does he? Marcus hung up slowly. No, but by the time his guests raise their glasses, he will. Amara's gaze hardened. Then I'll be there. Lightning flickered beyond the window. Music roared through the penthouse like a storm disguised as celebration. The night shimmered with golden light, crystal chandeliers, and the sound of mocking laughter. Derek Vaughn stood at the center of it all, his glass raised high. Celeste Moore, radiant in her red silk gown, leaned into him as though she already wore his crown. To empire, Derek shouted. To power, money, and freedom, guests applauded, their laughter echoing through walls as waiters passed trays of champagne. Outside the massive glass doors, the city glittered like a secret it couldn't keep. But one shadow slipped quietly among the servers. Amara Carter, disguised in a catering uniform, her cap low over her face. She moved carefully, carrying a silver tray, her eyes scanning every corner. In her pocket, Lena Brooks's voice crackled softly through a hidden earpiece. Stay calm. Eric's inside. He'll get you close to him. Eric Walsh, Derek's longtime partner, stood by the bar, guilt etched deep into his face. He'd watched Amara's public humiliation, the neighbors' recording, the cruel false rumors, and couldn't forget her calm defiance. Tonight, he would set things right. When Amara passed by, he subtly slipped a small black device under her tray, a recorder. Hide near the piano, he murmured. He's about to make his big speech. You'll have what you need. She nodded, whispering to herself. For you, little one. Her hand brushed over her swollen belly. Minutes later, Derek's voice boomed. Again, ladies and gentlemen, tonight I make it official. I now control Carter Holdings. Every inch of that $100 million condo, every property my late father-in-law built, it's mine. The room burst into mocking laughter, glasses clinking. Celeste giggled. You did it, Derek. You really buried her. He smirked. She trapped herself. She's a memory now, an unstable woman who got what she deserved. Amara's grip tightened on the tray. Her father's words echoed in her mind. They'll strip you bare, but what's yours can never be stolen. Eric gave a subtle nod from across the room. Amara reached under the tray and pressed record. Derek's voice poured into the tiny mic every cruel sentence, every confession. It's not stealing if she's too weak to fight back, he said, laughing. A woman gasped nearby, realizing the harshness of his tone. But he didn't stop. He was drunk on arrogance. Celeste twirled her glass and said loudly, And what if she returns? Derek chuckled, cruel and careless. Then she'll see that I built her father's empire better than he ever could. Every cruel word poured from the phone, crisp and clear. Amara stepped backward, nearly colliding with a waiter. Her eyes brimmed not with fear but with fire. She had what she needed. The party lights flashed red and gold as she slipped toward the exit, heart racing. She reached the door just as thunder cracked outside, shaking the glass. Behind her, Derek raised his glass again. To me, he shouted. To the man who took everything. Neighbors staring, phones lifted, filming his arrogance. The same crowd that once mocked Amara now looked uneasy. Celeste whispered, You talk too much, Derek. He grinned. I always win. But the mocking laughter that followed sounded thinner this time, hollow, uncertain. Amara stepped into the rain, clutching the recorder to her chest. Not anymore, she whispered. Lightning split. The sky. The reflection of the condo shimmered across puddles like a fortress waiting to fall. Her phone buzzed. A message from Marcus Hale appeared on the screen. Conference room, 9 a.m. Bring the recording. Amara looked back one last time, rain streaking her cheeks like war paint. Tomorrow, she whispered, the world will know. The conference room was dressed in gold, sunlight glinting off polished marble floors, and a long oak table that looked more like a throne than furniture. The hum of air conditioning couldn't drown out the tension that crackled through the room. At one end sat Grant Holloway, a billionaire investor with silver hair and the composure of a man used to owning the world. Beside him sat Helena Cruz, a cautious board member flipping through documents. At the other end, Derek Vaughn leaned back in his chair, confident and smug. He wore a navy suit that shimmered in the light and a smirk that didn't belong to a grieving son-in-law. I appreciate everyone being here, he began, sliding a folder forward. As of this morning, I hold complete control over Carter Holdings and its assets, including the $100 million condo. Grant folded his hands. You're saying you own it outright? Every inch, Derek replied smoothly. My late father-in-law would have wanted it this way. Before Grant could respond, the glass doors opened. Amara Carter stepped in calm, composed, radiant under the light. Her black dress hugged her frame, and the golden pen in her hand gleamed like a weapon. Derek froze. What is she doing here? Grant looked up. Mrs. Vaughn, we weren't expecting you. Amara's voice was soft but firm. I wasn't invited, Mr. Holloway, but I own the company you're about to invest in, so I believe I have a right to be here. A hush fell across the room. Even Helena paused mid-turn of a page. Derek scoffed. You? This is ridiculous. Everyone knows. Amara interrupted, sliding a folder across the table. These are the legal deeds, property documents, and recordings from your party last night. Grant frowned. Recordings? Marcus Hale, seated quietly behind her, pressed play on a tablet. Derek's voice filled the room. I don't care if it's her father's money, it's mine now. The sound sliced through the silence like a knife. Helena's eyes widened. That's your voice, Mr. Vaughn, Derek stammered. It's out of context. She's setting me up. Marcus rose calmly. It's not just the audio. Every document you've submitted fails verification. The signatures don't match. The golden pen used to sign the real papers carries an authentication mark only the late Benjamin Carter possessed. Your forgeries are invalid. Grant turned to Amara. So you're the rightful owner? She nodded. Since the day my father died. Grant leaned back, expression unreadable. Then this meeting is over. Mr. Vaughn, we don't fund liars. The humiliation washed over Derek's face like acid. His confident smile cracked. Mocking laughter rippled quietly from the staff outside the glass walls. Amara looked at him one last time. The door you slammed on me became the door that ended you. Grant gathered his files. Mrs. Carter, expect a call from my office. We have much to discuss. As the boardroom emptied, Derek slammed his fist on the table, veins bulging. You'll regret this. Amara met his eyes. I already did. Thunder rumbled outside a familiar distant echo. Behind her, Marcus placed the recording device into an evidence envelope. Tomorrow we file for full transfer. He'll be stripped of everything. Amara nodded, her expression calm but unreadable. No, Marcus, not everything. I want him to watch it happen. Lightning flashed across the glass, bathing the conference room in white. The penthouse was chaos. Papers flew. Glass shattered. Derek Vaughn roared like a predial-eyed, cornered animal, sweeping every file off the marble counter. The echo of breaking glass mixed with the thunderous bang outside a real storm had begun, matching his rage. He turned to Celeste Moore, who stood by the window, arms folded across her red silk gown, mascara smudged from fear. You told me she was finished, Derek shouted. You said she had nothing. Celeste's voice trembled. I didn't know she had those legal deeds. No one did. She walked into that conference room like a queen. Derek paced, eyes wild. She embarrassed me in front of Grant Holloway, in front of the entire board. Grace Vaughn, his mother, stepped in from the hallway, her pearls rattling as she clutched her shawl. Lower your voice, she hissed. The neighbors can hear. This family's name has survived worse. Derek spun toward her. Worse? You don't understand. The $100 million condo, the empire hidden in plain sight, it's gone. All gone. Grace's face hardened. Then fix it. Celeste stepped back. He can't. She's the legal owner now. It's over. Grace glared at her. You were supposed to keep him focused. Celeste's lip curled. On what? Lying, stealing, pretending to be a wealthy, powerful, and smug husband when he's just a thief? Watch your mouth, Derek barked, grabbing her arm. She yanked free, eyes blazing. You locked a pregnant woman out in the storm, Derek. You laughed while she begged in the rain. Did you think karma wouldn't find you? For the first time, silence filled the room. Only the sound of rain against the glass doors remained. Derek's voice dropped, quieter, dangerous. She stole my life. Eric Walsh, his former partner, appeared in the doorway soaked from the rain, expression grim. No, Derek, you stole hers. Derek froze. What are you doing here? Eric stepped closer. You lied to me. You forged her father's name. And now the company's under audit. Detective Jonah Miles called. He wants to speak to you by morning. Grace gasped. Police? Eric nodded. They have your voice recordings and copies of every forged document. You'll be charged for fraud. Derek's face twisted with disbelief. She set me up. Eric's voice softened. No, Derek. You set yourself up. Celeste turned away, whispering, I can't do this anymore. She grabbed her purse, eyes wet. Good luck surviving on the streets. Derek reached for her, but she didn't stop. The heavy wood door slammed behind her, echoing like judgment. Grace's voice shook. Son, what do we do? Derek's breath came heavy. We fight back. Eric's tone was cold. You can't fight truth. A flash of lightning lit the room, illuminating Derek's pale, furious face. The mocking laughter that once filled this place was gone, replaced by the sound of rain refusing to stop. He clenched his fists. If she wants war, she'll get it. Eric's voice faded as he stepped out. War's already over, Derek. She just hasn't announced the victory yet. Grace sank into a chair, whispering a prayer. Derek stared at the glass doors, soaked in rainlight, his reflection fractured into pieces. Then his phone buzzed. A message appeared from an unknown number. Court hearing. Tomorrow. Ownership confirmation. Bring your lawyer. He read it twice, jaw tightening. She's taking it public, he muttered. Outside, the lightning flared brighter, striking near the building. And for the first time, Derek Vaughn felt the true weight of loss and silence. The courtroom doors burst open like the end of a storm. Reporters surged forward, cameras flashing under golden lights spilling through tall windows. Derek Vaughn walked in flanked by two lawyers, his once proud stride replaced by a hollow stiffness. His tie was loose, his eyes sleepless. Across the aisle sat Amara Carter, calm and composed, her belly round under a soft navy dress. She looked serene, almost untouchable. The same woman who had been called unstable, dangerous, and a charity case now sat at the center of power. The judge's gavel struck. Court is now in session. Case number 5324, Carter Holdings ownership and financial fraud. Judge Franklin, a stern man with kind eyes, adjusted his glasses. Mr. Vaughn, you are accused of forging documents and transferring assets belonging to your late father-in-law. Benjamin Carter, do you plead guilty? Derek's voice cracked. Not guilty. Those were my properties. She's lying. Attorney Marcus Hale stood slowly, his briefcase clicking open. Your Honor, my client has provided full documentation of ownership, original legal deeds, notarized property documents, and digital verification signed with the late Mr. Carter's golden pen. He lifted the pen for all to see. Its surface gleamed beneath the lights, a symbol of truth and legacy. The judge nodded. Proceed. Marcus pressed play on a small device. The recorded evidence filled the silent courtroom. Derek's own voice, arrogant and cruel. I don't care if it's her father's money, it's mine now. She's too weak to fight back. A murmur spread through the audience. Laughter from past nights echoed only in Derek's head. Now mocking laughter turned to pity and gossip. His mother's words, Celeste's smirk, his empire all collapsed in that single moment. Amara didn't look at him. She stared forward, breathing slow, her hand resting protectively over her unborn child. Loss and silence had once buried her. Now they crowned her with dignity. Marcus turned to the judge. Every cruel word poured from the phone, Your Honor. Every lie, every act of greed. My client's father left her with one truth. They'll strip you bare, but what's yours can never be stolen. The judge studied the documents, the pen, and the timestamps. His gavel struck again. All assets, including the $100 million condo, shall be restored to Mrs. Amara Carter Vaughn immediately. Mr. Vaughn, you are hereby found guilty of fraud and perjury. Gasps rippled across the courtroom. Security men stepped forward, their footsteps heavy on the polished marble floors. Derek's face went pale. You can't do this. Amara finally looked at him, calm, unshaken. The door you slammed on me became the door that ended you. Judge Franklin leaned forward. Remove him! 2 guards seized Derek as reporters' flashes turned the room into lightning. His protests echoed through the hall, fading into loss and silence. Amara exhaled softly, tears shimmering. Hope sparked in her chest. Justice didn't erase the pain, but it restored her worth. Marcus placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. It's over. She shook her head. No, it's only begun. The judge called after her. Mrs. Carter, the media wants your statement. She turned toward the exit, the weight of her father's words guiding her. Not yet, she whispered. Let them wait. They'll see the truth for themselves. As she stepped outside, golden sunlight flooded the corridor. Reporters shouted her name. The city roared with curiosity. And high above, on the courthouse steps, a news helicopter circled, waiting to capture the woman the world once pitied. The black car door opened, and the flash of 100 cameras exploded like lightning. Amara Carter stepped out, tall and composed, the morning golden light spilling across her face. The same steps where she had once knelt in the rain, begging for mercy, now shimmered under sunshine. Security guards flanked her, parting the crowd as she approached the massive glass doors of the $100 million condo, the place where her humiliation had begun. Reporters shouted her name, microphones thrust forward. Mrs. Carter, how does it feel taking back what was stolen from you? Is it true? Your husband forged the deeds? Will you forgive him? She paused, her hand resting on her belly. Her voice, steady but soft, carried over the noise. Forgiveness is easy when truth wins. Inside, Marcus Hale and Lena Brooks waited in the lobby, both smiling with quiet pride. Marcus, dressed sharply as always, held a folder with embossed gold lettering, Carter Holdings. Everything's been transferred, Marcus said. The condo, the estates, even the accounts. It's all legally yours. Amara exhaled, her eyes glistening. He thought power came from money, but Papa taught me power comes from integrity. Lena nodded. You've come full circle. Amara looked around the marble lobby, the same place where mocking laughter once echoed. Now it was silent, filled with loss and reflection, but also with hope sparked in her chest. She walked to the elevator. The golden pen gleamed in her hand, her father's legacy, her weapon of justice. On the top floor, Grant Holloway, the billionaire investor, stood waiting beside the media crew. His smile was genuine this time. Mrs. Carter, he greeted, shaking her hand. It's an honor to work with the rightful owner. Amara smiled faintly. It's an honor to rebuild what my father began for people who deserve better than betrayal. A reporter turned her mic toward Grant. Mr. Holloway, why did you back her? He looked at Amara, then replied, because truth sells better than lies. Laughter rolled through the press, not cruel this time, but warm. Amara turned toward the floor-to-ceiling window, overlooking the city her father once ruled. Her reflection stared back, strong, calm, victorious. She whispered under her breath, We did it, Papa. The door they slammed became my entrance. Marcus stepped closer. The press wants your official statement for tomorrow's broadcast. Are you ready to speak? She turned from the window. Yes, but not about revenge. About rebuilding. Down below, the crowd's noise swelled again as Derek's name hit every headline. Fraud trial, asset seizure, empire collapse. Amara's gaze hardened slightly. He wanted the world to watch me fall. Now, they'll watch me rise. Lena smiled. What's next? Amara placed a hand on her belly. A foundation. For women left out in the rain. The golden light deepened as the sun began to set, spilling warmth across the marble. Marcus handed her a gold-embossed contract. Sign here to announce your ownership. She uncapped the golden pen, the same one her father used, and signed gracefully. Cameras flashed. Outside, the crowd cheered. The very door that once shut her out now stood open behind her, wide and welcoming. And far below, on a nearby street corner, a shadow lingered, watching through dark glasses. Derek Vaughn. His jaw clenched as he stared up at the building he had lost. "It's not over," he muttered. The courthouse plaza was a storm of flashes and voices. Cameras lined the marble steps as Derek Vaughn was dragged out in handcuffs, his designer suit soaked in sweat. Security men surrounded him, pushing back the shouting crowd. Media microphones crowded forward like spears. "Mr. Vaughn, do you regret locking your wife out of the condo? How does it feel losing the $100 million empire?" He didn't answer. His face, once smug, wealthy, powerful, and smug, was now pale and hollow. Every arrogant smirk had melted into loss and silence. Beside the courthouse fountain, Amara Carter stood beneath the golden light of the setting Sunday. Her navy coat framed her shoulders like armor, her hand resting over her swollen belly. She watched quietly as police escorted the man who had called her worthless. Grace Vaughn, Derek's mother, stumbled toward her, pearls trembling, eyes filled with panic. "Amara, please! Don't let them take him. He's still my son." Amara turned slowly, voice calm, but unshakable. "You raised a man who thought cruelty was strength." Grace fell to her knees, sobbing. Celeste Moore appeared at the edge of the crowd, her red gown wrinkled, makeup ruined. She couldn't meet Amara's eyes. "He used me," she whispered. Amara's gaze softened, but only slightly. "No, you used yourself. We all make choices." She turned back toward the cameras as Judge Franklin exited the building. "Mrs. Carter," he said, his voice proud, "the world will remember your composure. Few fight injustice with such grace." The crowd clapped. Laughter, not mocking, but admiring, echoed through the plaza. Amara stepped forward, addressing the reporters. Her voice was firm, melodic, carrying through the sea of people and cameras. "When my father died, I was broken. When my husband locked me out, I thought I'd lost everything. But sometimes life strips us down to rebuild us stronger." She paused, her eyes glistening. "This condo, this company, it isn't just about money. It's about truth. Every woman who's ever been called weak, unstable, or crazy deserves to know what's yours can never be stolen." The applause was thunderous. Phones lifted, people recording, neighbors staring, the same audience that once mocked her, now watched in awe. Celeste turned away, tears falling. Grace was helped to her feet, trembling. Derek, restrained, shouted from the police car. "You'll regret this." Amara didn't flinch. "No," she said softly. "You will." The car door slammed shut. The sound echoed against the massive glass doors of the courthouse, the same sound that had once marked her exile. Now it was the sound of his ending. She lifted her face to the warm light, whispering, "Papa, you saved me." Marcus Hale stepped beside her, smiling quietly. "It's done." Amara shook her head. "No, Marcus, it's just beginning," he frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked at the cameras and the growing crowd of women outside the fence, those who had followed her story. "We'll build something new, a shelter, a home, for every woman left in the rain." The last rays of sunlight framed her silhouette strong, radiant, unstoppable. A reporter shouted one final question. "Mrs. Carter, what will you name the foundation?" Amara smiled faintly, eyes lifted to the sky. "The Carter Promise. Because hope doesn't die, it's reborn." Applause erupted. The city began to stir, bells chimed, and her father's words echoed once more. "They'll strip you bare, but what's yours can never be stolen." She stepped down the courthouse stairs, the crowd parting before her. Golden light followed her every step, and behind her, the billboard above the courthouse flickered, showing her photo beside the headline. The woman he locked out became the owner of everything.